Hi everyone, welcome to our channel JK CoDEVERSE. See, we have API and there is a lakhs of lines of code in API and we'll define that API in a OpenAPI specification using lot of objects provided by the OpenAPI. But there are some objects that we need to address compulsorily in OpenAPI specifications. Okay. If we don't use that, the OpenAPI specification will broke. So in this video, we'll see what are those objects that is OpenAPI minimal structure. From now onwards, we'll use Swagger editor to write the OpenAPI specifications. It's an open source tool as I explained. See, whatever we write as a key in this editor, like root level key, we'll consider as an objects. First object is OpenAPI. And we have to write the version of that OpenAPI. Let's say there are a lot of versions of OpenAPI and we need to write which version we are going to use. I'm using 3.0.1. Actually, the latest one is 3.1.0 or I'm not sure, but I'm using 3.0.1 because in 3.1.0 there are some errors, but there are some bugs that need to be fixed. See, I wrote OpenAPI.3.0.1 and this is the Swagger UI, the right side. It will show all the information in a graphical format, like diagrammatical format. And see, here there is it's throwing error. Should always have info section. Information. So info is a object. See, I'm using YAML programming language. I'm using key, colon, space, and the value. Info is a object. In info, we are writing one sub-object like version. This info object refers to the API. All the information of the API, like what is the version, what is the name of your API, or if something breaks in that API, whom should contact, and description of that API. See, information object, so information of an API. Version of your API. Like let's say there is a 0.0.1. It's a version of your API. Name of your API, like let's say e-commerce. Yeah. So we have a lot of objects under info, like description or contact, lot of objects, but the compulsory objects, the mandatory objects is version and name. The sub-objects. And the paths. Paths is another object which will give the endpoints of your API. See, in API, let's say there's a get API, okay, for iPhone. And we are passing ID. Like let's say if we click iPhone 14, we are passing the ID which is associated with the iPhone 14. Let's say the ID is 14. If you click on iPhone 14, the API path, at last, there is a ID we are passing 14, right? If you click on iPhone 15, there is ID 15. So there is some endpoints, right? That all the endpoints we are going to define in this paths object. Like responses, requests, everything will define in a paths object. As of now, we should include these paths objects and we can put it as like the empty one. It's fine. Okay. Oh, okay. I think it's a title, not the name. Sorry. It's my bad. Title, not the name. But it refers to the name of your API. See, this is the OpenAPI. See, this is a UI version of your specification. E-commerce, it's a name of your API. 0.0.1 version of your API. OAS, OpenAPI specification 3.0. It's a specification version, not the API version. It's a specification version. And no operation defined in specification. We didn't write anything, right? It's a minimal structure. See, OpenAPI, info object, and within that version title should be included, and paths object, which can be empty. So this minimal structure of OpenAPI specifications. And if we go to this link, if we go to this raw GitHub, this link, they will give one example specification like info, title, what are the objects we can include, what are the objects available. See, servers is also an object. It's just like example they provided. It's not related to our any API. Like API we are going to write specification for. So that's about OpenAPI minimal structure. In next video, I think we'll discuss information object. Info object refers to the information of whole API, right? In info, there are a lot of sub-objects that we can use to define our API. We'll discuss we'll discuss all the sub-objects in detail in next video. Thank you.